Hey, everybody. It is Dan going solo today. How y'all doing? So, Lindsay is away on vacation this week. So, it's just little old me to run the board because Curtis is off doing Curtis things also and having a little chat with y'all. So, been a long time since I've done a solo one of these. I used to do them every week on my own, and then Lindsay joined me, and we've never looked back. God, that was, now that I think back at it, I think it's 3 years Lindsay and I've been doing this show together. But occasionally one of us has to miss it, and she's off enjoying time with the fam, and I wish her well. She did say she might check in on things, so she might be in the comments somewhere, whether it'll be on TikTok or YouTube. I don't know. See some of the normals joining in. Hey, Bill, Mr. Bill Corbett, a good friend of mine. Steve Weatherman. Yes, I am the problem today, Steve. I'm just giving it a few minutes for everything to sync up. Kind of let you all know what I've been working on for a little bit. So, as you know, if you're watching this on TikTok or YouTube, and I even fed this to my Rumble today to give it a try. First time I think on Rumble. I've been going with my channel for 5-ish years now. But last fall, late in the fall, I started a second channel called Men Need to Be Heard Too, TOO, which actually has existed on TikTok going back to the pandemic. That was actually at one time my main channel. It got banned as usual, and then magically reappeared, I don't know, 4 months later out of nowhere. So I still have it. But over the last year or so, well, actually a little bit longer than that. But anyway, I was getting a lot of feedback from followers, viewers, other guys asking me to do more content really specific to individuals as opposed to covering issues, right? The channel you're watching now, I cover issues that men and boys face in society. And we're going to be covering one of them today, a big one, which is masculinity. And I'll get to that momentarily, but I just wanted to kind of fill you in. Like I said, I had a bunch of followers reaching out to me in various ways saying, Dan, I love what you're doing. Keep it up. But could you do a little more content on specific issues? And then they usually share something with me that they wanted me to give feedback on. So I started that channel last fall on YouTube and a few other places. And I have to say, I'm shocked at how well it's doing. So if you're not following me there, it's on primarily the tube, right? Men Need to Be Heard Too, TOO. I also put the content on TikTok. So Uber Ponage said, I thought you were done with TikTok. I was done with TikTok. And then this goes back, God, it was last September. I got bombarded by people. And I'm not joking. I had, off the top of my head, it was hundreds. It may have been even close to 1,000 people reach out to me and say, will you please come back to TikTok? Because they didn't want to shift to other social medias. Why, I don't know, because TikTok's a shit show, but be that as it may. So they actually ended up talking me back into going on. So I jumped back on. Actually, I think it was the very last week in September. And I am thoroughly throttled on TikTok. They haven't banned me, but they don't show my videos barely at all. I used to average tens of thousands of views. Now I'm lucky on a video if I get 1,000. And I know other creators have run into the same thing, but yeah, I'm definitely shadow banned. I don't care. TikTok is TikTok. But yeah, so I came back on TikTok, and I'll be answering some of your questions here and there. Just real quick, I Love Coffee said, do I know Lady J on here, meaning TikTok? She's also on YouTube, Facebook, and a few other places. I don't know her personally. I've never spoken with her. I love her content. I would love to interview her. I have reached out to her probably a half dozen times over the last couple of years, asking her to come on my podcast. Never gotten a response. And I don't fault her for that in any way. If she's like me and she's much bigger than I am, she gets hundreds, if not thousands of emails, DMs a day. She probably can't keep up any more than I can. So it doesn't surprise me that she didn't get back to me, and I hold no ill will towards her for it. I get it. I'm lost in a sea of information, and if she read it, maybe she just didn't want to come on and I respect that also. So I wish her nothing but the best. I love her content. I don't watch every video, but I do watch most of them, and I encourage anyone to follow her. We do very similar content, um, and I admire what she does. All right, so I want to kind of dive in. So Steve just asked in question, wasn't there an issue with threats to my wife? Yes, that is why I ultimately left TikTok. Just not to keep rehashing it, but I, on average, receive 1 to 2 death threats every single month. Matter of fact, I had one last week. Not one that I took too seriously. I mean, obviously, I have to take them all seriously. But last summer, there was a very serious one made against my wife. They actually reached out to her privately. And we traced it back through TikTok. I know who it was. Law enforcement was involved. So I had to leave TikTok. That was my primary impetus for leaving it. Long story short, like I said, I got talked back into going back on. I still get the death threats, but it's nowhere near as bad. You go after my wife, that's a whole other story. So, all right. So I want to get into the topic of the day because, what's interesting to me is that there's a lot of content going out right now about, and I'm going to bring up my notes here. Hang on a second, guys. Just bear with me 1 second because I have all these notes that I made and I want to kind of look at them while I'm talking with you. So there's a lot of content out there being made on all the different social medias. Primarily, I see it on TikTok. I get a lot of it sent to me by my followers. But I've also seen it on Insta, Facebook, YouTube a lot also. And it's interesting to me, and it's why I wanted to have a discussion with you. And I kind of wish Lindsay was here because I know she would love to chime in on it. But thank you, Azil, for the roses. What I want to talk about is there a crisis of masculinity? Because you're seeing it everywhere, right? I've had in the last month or so, ballpark, probably a half dozen articles sent to me by followers by various media. Some were TV, some were magazines, some were online stuff. But basically, they all were questioning masculinity, right? Saying, well, is there some sort of crisis of masculinity? And it's, like I said, it's like everywhere you look right now. And you hear that the way it's phrased, right? There is a crisis of masculinity. And that's what I want to kind of talk about today, because in some ways, yes, there is. And in the way they mean, though, I don't agree at all, right? And I want to kind of get into that. And then more importantly, I want to get your opinion on it. I want to hear from you guys on it because it's important to me to kind of get feedback from you guys on what you think, because then I can help drive my content. I do want to do a follow-up video on this in particular, because they are pushing that narrative so hard. And when I say they, I mean the media, women's groups, politicians, all of them. I mean, everybody in society throughout it is saying, well, there's a crisis in masculinity. And, it begs the question, well, if there is one, what is it, right? And that's the first question I want to ask is, do you think there is a crisis? Without defining it, because that's what they're doing, right? They're not defining what's in crisis. If you notice, if you go and actually look at that stuff, you will see that they don't really give any explanation for it. They just say there's a crisis, and then they throw a bunch of ad hominem things that they attach to it, right? Now, it is an interesting point, but it's one that I think depends on how you're looking at things, because I would argue if they say to me, is masculinity actually in crisis? I respond by, well, what do you mean by that? And usually they'll give me some BS, right? Well, men are afraid to ask women out, or there's a male loneliness epidemic, or men are afraid to step up, blah, 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 all that stuff. You know what I'm talking about, which I usually counter with something like, well, that's an interesting point, but is it that men are in crisis, or is it that society is just uncomfortable with men who no longer are willing to put up with the BS? They're not going to apologize anymore for being men. And it's amazing to me how they go silent on that, And then, then you have the ones like user 6'5" and a whole string. Seriously, men are finally being held accountable for their actions and don't like it. No, they're not. We're not. It's not that we don't like it. It's that you have a double standard because you think men should be held accountable, but you don't think women should be, like yourself, right? You don't think that it's fair to point out the double standards. And that's what we're going to go into in detail, right? A little bit of that. And, it's interesting to me how you respond that way, right? Well, be held accountable for their actions. What men? All men? Right? You're going to blame me for something that happened 200 years ago that I had no control over. You want to blame me for something some schmuck does that's, way over the line. How am I responsible for that? And if you're going to say I am, then how are you not responsible for every bad thing every woman does? And they lose their minds when you do that, right? Well, that's different. No, it's not different. It's exactly the same. And it's interesting too because there are some things that I do think are a crisis, but not, like I said earlier, not in the way they mean it, right? Just off the top of my head, some things that I think are a crisis with regard to masculinity or men in general. For example, the fact that men make up 80% of the unalivings. The fact that boys are lagging behind in school in ever increasing ways. 60 years ago, everybody complained and bitched and moaned about the fact that 60% of the people graduating from college were men and only 40% women. That number is exactly flipped now. It's actually worse. Only about 38% of graduates are male now. But we don't want to have that talk. That's not a crisis. It was a crisis 60 years ago when it was the women, but it's not a crisis because it's the boys, right? Or the fact that despite the well-documented, well-supported fact that men are victims of IPV at equal or higher rates than women, there's only 2 shelters dedicated to helping male victims in the entire United States. 2. And there's 2,000 plus for women. That's a crisis, right? So when you say something like that, then I would say it's fair, but that's not what their argument is, right? And then you throw in things like men are walking away from relationships. This is stuff I was studying this week because I'm going to be doing a video on it. They're walking away from the workforce. Like it was the number that used to get thrown out. It was 7 million men of prime working age, which they defined as, I think, 18 to 45, somewhere in there. 7 million men had walked away. Well, the most recent data that I was just reading about puts it more closer to 10. That's a huge number, huge. And a lot of them, because they were speculating, is it because they can't find jobs? And I do think that's a fair point. But a lot of it is men just said, nope, I'm done. I'm not going to do it anymore, right? Why would I want to go and work when I'm the evil enemy there? So, and I hear that one from guys all the time. So yeah, that's another crisis. Men are no longer willing to do the dirty jobs. They're walking away from them. Police, fire, sewer, infrastructure in general, all that stuff. They are all begging for people to apply, men and women. The women won't apply. I mean, I've talked about this before on the show. I've interviewed sheriffs, police departments, fire locally. They would kill to hire women. They constantly try to. They don't get the applications. I don't remember the exact numbers, but just roughly it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 1. For every 1 female, there were 10 male, right? And so women aren't going to do those jobs, but now men aren't going to do them. They don't want to do them anymore. So that's a crisis. That's a big crisis for society, because if men don't do the job, who is, right? So that's what I'm talking about as far as what I think is a crisis, right? But they don't want to have that discussion. No, they want to frame it as what I'm going to get into now, right? So what they kind of want to go with is when you ask them, well, what do you mean by there's a crisis of masculinity? They'll say things like, well, men are toxic, men are outdated, they haven't come up with the plan, or whatever. It was some phrase somebody threw at me the other day, and all that. And I'm like, well, Well, what do you mean? Well, it's 2026. Men should understand things have changed. How have they changed? Well, blah, blah, blah. And then they do their thing. And then I always point out, well, that's interesting that you say that, because when it comes to expectations of men, we're still stuck in the 1950s, right? Men are still expected to pay for everything. They're still expected to provide. They're still expected to do all the dirty work. So progress means only for women, not men. So how is that a crisis of masculinity, right? Add to it, there's the expectation that every man should be constantly apologizing for being a man, right? I mean, I talk about this all the time. Men are literally told from the day they're born till the day they die that there is something inherently wrong with them, simply because they happen to be born with XY chromosomes and a penis. Just it, period. They don't add anything else. Well, you have a penis, there's something wrong with you, right? And boys are beaten over the head with it in grade school, high school, all the way through college. It happens in the workplaces. It happens throughout life. It's never ending, nonstop, every single day. We see it in the media. We see it from politicians, as I mentioned earlier. And we see it on social media pretty much every single day by the thousands, by women making their little diss videos, right? And they do it over and over again. And boys see that, men see that, and you know, the expectation is they're just supposed to sit and take it. Well, they need to have some self-reflection. Why? You're telling us we're bad because we have XY chromosomes. We can't change that. Nothing we do is going to change that. I mean, you can make the argument we could get rid of the penis. Sure. I don't think most men would want to do that, but that's not going to change anything either. You still have the same chromosomes, the same hormones and all that, right? But yet that's the argument they make. Well, men need to change. Why do men need to change? Well, because we say so. Well, who the hell made you the boss, right? And it's interesting now because men have checked out. They're like, we're done with this bullshit, right? Nothing we say is ever going to matter. Nothing we do, even if we did change, they wouldn't acknowledge it or appreciate it anyway, right? So men have walked. They've walked the walk. They don't really talk the talk. Men don't really bitch and moan about it online like women do, right? Go look at the videos on social media. For every one guy talking about, like me, male issues or things that men deal with, there are hundreds of women doing the same, right? There's no real conversation about the men's side because we don't allow that. So men are like, okay, well, if we can't talk about it, we can't do anything about it, we're just going to check out. And now people across the spectrum, media, politicians, same group I mentioned earlier, and women in particular are suddenly saying, why are men so angry? Why are they checked out? Why are they walking away? And I sit there and I go, what the hell do you expect? You know, you've sat and dissed half the population, telling them they're inherently a problem, that they're toxic simply because of how they were born. And they've been told that for decades. So you think maybe after hearing that over and over again every single day of your life, you might just decide to not show up anymore? And yet they're shocked that that's happening, right? And that's why I want to hear from you guys what you think. So, and kind of get into discussion. I know that a lot of people have been chiming in with comments. I'll go through as many as I can as we go along. But I want to hear your opinions on this. And I want to hear both sides, right? You know, I want to hear from the men, like, how do you feel about it? Do you think there's a crisis of masculinity? And how do you define it if you do? Do you define it the way I do or some other way? And also, I want to know, how do you feel about the constant negative stream of, well, let me rephrase that, the stream of negativity, let me say that right, that's thrown at men nonstop? How does that make you feel, right? Yes, we're going to have to share our feelings, guys. But I'm curious, genuinely curious about that. On the other side, I want to hear from the women too, right? Which is, and I want to ask them one specific question, which is, how does it benefit men, society, and you to constantly trash men, to put them down, to bash them 24/7, 365. What do you think you're going to accomplish by doing that? And I'm genuinely asking. I'm not trying to be mean, right? I want to know what you think is going to happen, because what is happening is men have said, F you, we're not doing it anymore. That's the reality of what's happening. And, women are freaking out about it and more. I've done a few videos recently about that, right? And I got a couple more coming out where, you know, they're saying, women, they're saying, I don't understand why men are walking away. And then we literally tell them why we are, and they go, no, you're not right. This is why you're doing it. Like and I say this all the time in my content, they think they know better than us men how we think and feel. And they say that all the time. Brian said, did I wear that shirt to make my face look less red? No. And it's orange. Comes across as red, but it's actually orange. Actually, just so you know, I am a little red, and I will be getting worse because I'm being treated for skin cancer. Whole other story. I'm not going to go into that right now. I just let me share this one here. This is over on YouTube from DB50,000. He said, it's not only they blame us for shit from 200 years ago, they victimize themselves for shit from 200 years ago, and they're gaslighting us on a worldwide societal way. It's insane. That's exactly my point. Thank you for sharing that, right? Is, when you sit there and say, well, and Lindsay and I both have torn apart their arguments, right? Well, women were forced to stay home 200 years ago or 500. No, they weren't. They had to because of survival, right? And no, the men weren't sitting around doing anything. They were out working in the fields from sun up till sundown with no break, 6 days a week. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. But they don't count that part, right? They don't have that discussion. Women were home taking care of the children in the home, which happened to be, by the way, a one-room house, usually made of mud or logs, with a dirt floor. So it wasn't all that hard to take care of. What was hard was like doing things like laundry, because you had to truck maybe a mile down to the creek. There's my southern, not so southern person coming out, to do the laundry. They didn't have a little machine and a button to push, right? That's fair. The way things were a couple hundred years ago for the average person, which is the peasant class, which was 90% of the population, it was survival. Things were the way they were for survival. Somebody had to work in the fields, and it was the men, because without it, they weren't eating. There was no food. You had to make your own food. You had to grow it, right? It wasn't, you didn't walk down to the store and buy it. No, there was none of that. It was all done by hand too. They might have had a horse. A lot of them didn't even have that, right? They had to plow by hand sometimes. I mean, that's the reality of it all. And I've covered that many times. Lindsay has too. We've covered it on this show. So again, that goes to the point that DB was making, which is, they want to be the victim. But they don't want to talk about, the reality of it. And that again goes back to what we're talking about. So again, in the comments, there was no Walmart back then, Richard. You're right. But they actually think there was in some cases, not a Walmart, but that, you just walk down to the store. Because I've had them say, well, in the cities, you could do that. Yeah, but you still had other things to do. And the men weren't sitting around. They were doing city work, whatever that might be, blacksmithing, or usually even if you lived in the cities, you were doing some sort of hard labor somewhere. Get to the Industrial Revolution, you were working in factories 12 to 14 hours a day, 6 days a week with no break, right? But we don't want to talk about that. Steve Forge, that is so bad. I'm not even going to repeat it. Good job, though. So that's kind of where the overall on it. And I do want your guys' opinion on it. What do you think that there is a crisis of masculinity? And again, you notice I haven't given a definition of it yet, right? I've given you my thoughts. Or is it more a case of society, I'll label it as society, doesn't like that men aren't doing what they want. So they've labeled it as a crisis, right? And that gets into the phrase itself, because it's a very carefully chosen phrase, right? Crisis of masculinity, because it's so vague that it really, you have to question the premise. Like, How are you defining it as a crisis? What's your criteria for it? And as I said at the beginning of the show, they never give you any, right? It's always ad hominem attacks that follow. Well, men have oppressed women for centuries. Okay, how is that a crisis of masculinity? Well, they need to change. Women have more rights than men right now. So what are you talking about, right? They never want to get into the nitty gritty of the details. Say that 3 times fast. And then like when I've had these conversations with people, I said, well, is it that you think masculinity is actually failing, or is it that traditional male roles have been attacked and reframed as toxic? Because that is what's going on, right? So again, it speaks to the double standard that exists. They want men to, like I said earlier, do the P's, providing, protecting, all that. But they don't want men to get any credit for it, right? They want it to be viewed as a negative. We want you to protect us. We want you to pay for everything, but we don't want you to think you're going to get any credit for it. Make that one make sense, right? And you see that constantly. It's that narrative exists everywhere, everywhere. And they just go on and on about it. I'll get to the comment. Some of these comments are great, guys. I'll get to some of them, but I just want to kind of get my points because this is an important topic. And I do want to, the things that I miss, I will go back and reread because, as I said, I'm going to be doing a video on this. But, when you talk about, well, how are you defining the crisis of masculinity? As I said, they don't have a true definition, other than to just attack men. And then when you get into more specific things, right? So one of the things I think, fair point that a lot of people have made is that there's a collapse of what is known collectively as male purpose, right? And again, it goes back to those things I was just talking about. Men were and are expected to be the provider, the protector, the builder. And they still are. They don't expect women to do those. They expect men to do them. But yet, when men do them or talk about it, they're dismissed, they're mocked. Or one that somebody hit me with not too long ago is, well, you guys just need to be more emotionally open about it. Whatever the hell that meant, right? I was like, really? Okay. So I do think there's a problem with male purpose, right? And I get why there is. I'm not faulting the men. It's something actually I've been talking about a lot on that new channel I created that I mentioned at the beginning of the show. Men Need to Be Heard Too. Give it a follow. I've been talking a lot on that, in sometimes directly, but in a lot of ways indirectly, about the lack of male purpose, right? What we have been taught we're supposed to do, be, whatever, what is intrinsic to us, what is literally baked into our DNA, things like provision, protecting, etc. As I said, it's now been labeled as toxic. So they want us to do it, but then tell us we're toxic for doing it. Make it make sense. I love this one. Men cheat, but wives home doing all the domestic work for their convenience. You got 30% of all DNA tests come back showing that the named father isn't the father. So sorry, sweetie, but men aren't the only ones cheating. In fact, women cheat more than men, but we don't want to have that conversation, and now's not the time. You ain't home taking care of the house. You're out banging Tyrone, Rico, and Kent or whoever. See, but again, that's the argument they're trying to make. They want to shut down the conversation and twist it onto them. This is a classic move that they make, right? But getting back to the purpose, one of the things I really try and do is, with that new channel, is get men to kind of listen to what I'm sharing is my life experience, things that I've dealt with personally. On average, I talk to hundreds of men a day, or a week, dozens a day, but hundreds a week. In various ways. So I have a really good handle on where men are at, I think, more so than I would say the overwhelming majority of people. Like, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I would say I'm probably in the top 1% in the world of understanding what men are dealing with, because I talk to them. More importantly, I listen to them, right? I get hundreds of emails a day, and I wish to God I could read them all. You know, I spend about an hour a day just going through reading. I don't respond to all of them, because if I did, it would be a fraction of what I can read, right? But I hear what men are saying. I hear the pain they're dealing with. I hear the frustration. I hear the just lack of empathy that they get, right? And so it is causing a problem with male purpose, because again, it goes back to what I said. Men are like, well, F it, I'm just not going to do anything. So they're sitting home playing video games, watching TV, or doing whatever. And that's not good. That's not good for men. To hell with society. I don't even care about society at this point. It's not good for the individual men. So that's why I say to them, one of the most important things as a man you need to be doing is having a purpose, whatever that is for you, right? It's not up to me to tell you what your purpose is. And I'm not even talking like provider, protector, builder, those. I'm talking about what is something that you can be working towards to make your life better, or someone else's, right? Myself as the example, right? I am retired, semi-retired. I'm like 10% still working. I don't have to be doing this at all. I could be sitting on the beach and playing golf every day and be happy. But I feel like I have an obligation to do what I do. That's why my channels exist, because they give me a purpose. My purpose being to help men have better lives, to help them overcome this toxicity that's directed at them, right? And give them ways to make their lives better and find purpose and all that stuff. That's why I do what I do. Because one of the things I talk about often, and I am a hardcore believer in this, is that men without purpose will spiral, and usually not in a good way, right? So when I talk to guys that are really struggling in life, I'm like, one of the first things I'll say to them, maybe not directly, but in some way, I'll say to them, well, what are you working on? What are your goals? Where do you want to be in 5-10 years? You know, standard, a lot of times questions you get in interviews, right? And I ask them that because I'm trying to find out, do they have a purpose? And I will tell you point blank, I can't put numbers to it, but the overwhelming majority of them don't. The younger ones. Older ones tend to have it more, but not, I wouldn't say it's the majority, not by a long shot, right? It's, you know, it's like Edward just said, it's hard to feel good as a man, but I'm struggling. I get it, right? It is hard. It's impossible right now to feel good, because the minute you start feeling good, they're going to attack you for feeling good. Look at me, right? I have a damn good life. Damn good. I have a happy, healthy, wonderful relationship with my wife. I can do whatever the hell I want. I have financial security. I don't have to worry about a damn thing, right? I am happy, genuinely happy. I'm not, you know, not fake internet. My life is great, happy, like you see with all the, you know, influencers. I'm genuinely happy. But yet, if I express that, I'm attacked like viciously. You're not happy. Or how dare you be happy? Don't you know all the suffering women are going through? That was thrown in my face all the time. So, Edward, your point is 100% valid, right? It's hard to feel good as a man, because the minute you do, you're going to be attacked for it, right? And again, it's something that men deal with daily, right? When you're just bombarded with that negativity over and over and over again, it can't. How can you not be affected by it, right? You wouldn't be human if you weren't. I make that argument all the time, right? Especially with politicians. Like, you know, when I talk to them, I was doing a little bit of lobbying recently, and I was having this similar conversation, not quite the same. And, you know, they're looking at me like, what the hell are you talking about? Because I was specifically talking about how men are very disillusioned, how they handed the Republican Party Congress, the presidency, most local offices in 2024, expecting promises to be kept, and they haven't been kept. So men, I'm going to tell you right now, there is a bloodbath coming in the upcoming midterms. It is going to be a bloodbath because the number of men I'm hearing from that are saying, I'm not voting, oh boy. And without the men, the Republican Party has no chance. None, right? And I'm not taking a position one way or the other. I'm just simply stating a fact, and they don't get it. The Democratic Party, to their credit, figured out they lost men. To their failure, didn't do anything to address it either. So men are like, I don't have a party to vote for. And they're right. Neither party cares about men, which is something else. Let's kind of dive into that now because I have it on my list, right? It's how men are viewed. More, again, I'm talking politically now, but more so in society, right? They're viewed as disposable. Who cares if something happens to men, right? They're viewed as, how do I want to put this without getting in trouble? And be careful with some of this stuff. They're viewed as cannon fodder, you know, in the sense, and I'm not even talking like war. I'm talking in the sense politically, right? If we just bash men, we're going to get a whole bunch of votes. And I see it both sides, by the way, both sides doing it. You know, if you ask me, I vote for who's going to support men's rights. They have a D after them, an R, an I. If they're aliens from outer space, they'll get my vote if they support men's issues. But you're seeing a lot of it now where both parties are, again, they're trying to get the female vote, so they're bashing men, right? And men are seeing that. Add the media. You know, look at how the media portrays men. Look at the last 50 odd years of TV and advertising. Every man is incompetent, dumb, can't get out of his own way, can't feed himself, can't clothe himself. It's just nonstop. The number of ads that you see where companies just think it's perfectly okay to bash men. And they do it because 80% of the buying power is women. And they know that. So women love to bash men universally, right? Like I just saw, I forget who it was, but somebody said, not all women bash. Yes, you do. All of you do. Because if you're not directly doing it, you're not standing up to the women and the companies that do. Beautiful one, Procter & Gamble, huge company. If you're buying any of their products, you're supporting male bashing. That makes you as guilty, whether you want to admit it or not, all right? But that's the problem. Because if they bashed women, you all would jump on the train to make sure that company was shut down. That's the point, right? So again, it's kind of interesting to see it all playing out that way. You know, with the media, it's, you know, they portray every man as a man child. Every man is, like I said earlier, incompetent or can't get out of his own way. The few exceptions they show are the, again, I got to be careful how I say it, the simps, right? They are totally beaten down by women and they give in to anything and everything that women want, right? The classic one being that insipid show, Virgin River, which my wife loves. And I think they just came out with a new season, so I know I'm going to have to watch it. But I mean, I look at the men on that and you can tell the show's written by women because no man speaks like that in the real world. None of them do. No man speaks that way. And if they did, women would bash the hell out of them for doing it, right? So again, it's interesting how that portrayal is, and then the expectation that goes along with it. Well, why don't men change? Well, why should we? What's wrong with us? That's what we're asking, because everything you say is not something that's wrong with us. It's something that you've decided. Who the hell are you? Who nominated all the feminists to decide what masculinity is? Because the fact of the matter is, even the majority of women don't agree with it, which is why they're all bitching about how soft men have become. Well, they became that way because you ladies cheered the feminists on when they made men that way. So again, you're at fault, which kind of leads me to another thing. But let me just do a quick little change here. Let me be a promo guy here for a moment. Let me shill myself for just a brief moment. Look, if you're not following me, so you're on Boy Meets Squirrel. That is our show channel. But I'm also on some of my personal channels, Men Need to Be Heard. Make sure you're following me. Like I said, I have multiple channels on YouTube now, Men Need to Be Heard and Men Need to Be Heard 2. Facebook, Instagram, X, if you prefer, although I'm not as active on X, simply because there's only so much time I have. I would love to be. And, you can follow my podcast on the other ones. You can see them on the screen if you're looking. But just so you know, I don't put the same content on every channel, right? There is stuff on Men Need to Be Heard too that won't be seen anywhere else. There is stuff on Men Need to Be Heard that is seen maybe there in Rumble. All right. There's stuff on TikTok that I don't portray on the other one, put on the other ones, because every social media is a little different. You can say certain things on one, can't say on another. I got to worry about being zucked and all that stuff. TikTok is a complete shit show right now. I don't even care about TikTok anymore. They're hemorrhaging users. I mean, it's ridiculous what's happened with them. So make sure you're following me on the other channels, because TikTok in particular, I'm going to get nuked. It's not if, it's when, because they nuke me all the time. All right, let me get back to, there's my endless promo. Shameful plug for myself. And if you're watching on the Boy Meets Squirrel channels, make sure you follow. We're live every Wednesday from 4 to 5:30. It's usually not just little old me. It's me and my digital daughter, Lindsay. And, we talk about topics like the one we're talking about today, which is there a crisis in masculinity? And I'll throw it out again, because I know people are jumping in and out. But do you think there's a crisis in masculinity? I would love to see your opinion. And I may not read them all, but I'm going to go, or read them on the air, but I'm going to go back and read all the comments later, right? Because I'm genuinely interested to see what you think, right? It's a genuine question, because I want to know from both sides, right? As I said earlier, if you're a man, I want to know, do you think that there's a crisis? If so, what is it, right? And the second part of that is, how do you feel about the constant stream of negativity directed at you or men in general, right? When I say feel, I mean genuinely feel. So yes, guys, you have to share your feelings, okay? And if you're a woman, I'm genuinely would love to know, ladies, share your thoughts with me, why you think it's a benefit to men, society, and you as a woman to bash men 24/7, 365. What is your logic in shaming men? Do you think it's going to change men? Because I got news for you. It ain't. Hasn't worked now, never has, never will. So what is your modus operandi behind it? Because let me tell you, what you're doing is failing miserably. And I'm not saying that to attack anyone. That's just a fact, right? It's driving men out of every aspect of society: work, school, relationships, all of it. Like Mustafa just said, 64% of men under 30 are single. There's a reason why, and it's not because they're incels, ladies, which you love to throw out. Not by a long shot. It's a choice. And once they make that choice, they don't come back. So you're going to see generations of men who've walked away. And we're already seeing it, right? We're already seeing it. So I talked about a couple things. I talked about, the crisis of masculinity. We're about halfway through the show, and I'm not going to get to everything. I have a nice list here. I'm not going to get to it all, but and I will save some time towards the end to kind of go through some of the comments. I won't be able to get to all of them because they're coming in fast and furious. I'm sorry. I was reading a comment real quick because that's a good one. I got to bookmark that one. Jay Smartass just put one up too. He's a little bit ago where he said, let me share this one because it's a good one. Makes me not trust women to the point they must prove to me they aren't part of the in crowd damn near every day. And frankly, that's sad. Round of applause, Jay. That is it right there. That is the reason men are done. He just said it right there. That is it. And I hear that from tens of thousands of men every week. No joke. And you can sit there and go, well, that's just people online. When it's that many, it's a movement. Okay. That's what's going on. So anyway, getting back to some of the other things, I've talked about the lack of purpose, which I do think is a crisis. I will grant that. And it's something that we men need to work on together, which is why I do what I do, right? So Rachel just said, I want a man to show me different. What does that mean? I'm genuinely asking, Rachel. Show you different what? Like, give me like 2 or 3 things that you want him to show you different. And I'm going to answer honestly when you do. All right. So, don't think I'm attacking you, because I'm not. But getting back to it, I talked about the media. Another topic I want to make sure I get to. Hold on. I need a quick drink. This is where I need Lindsay to take over for a bit. Is the definition, like we talked about earlier, but more precisely, I'll call it the division, which what I mean by that is there's masculinity and then there's toxic masculinity. Women don't think there's a difference. They think masculinity is toxic, period. End of discussion. No ifs, ands, or buts, period. But they are two very different things, right? Masculinity is things like discipline, courage, strength, leadership, responsibility, doing the things that, quotes, men do. I keep circling back: providing, protecting, building, right? Those are not toxic things. And if you're labeling them as toxic, that's a you problem. That's not a men problem, right? Toxic masculinity, I would label that as bad behavior from men, as particular men, not as a group, right? Because the other thing women love to do is label every man. It's all men till it's no men. But yet, if you say it's all women till it's no women, you'll see the comments get flooded with, I'm not like that. Not all women are like that. We saw one earlier. Yes, you are. Because if you're saying men are, then you are. Accept it, because that's equality, ladies, right? If you're going to argue it's all men, then it's all women also, right? But going back to what I was saying, when you're labeling male traits like strength, discipline, what's some of the other, leadership, responsibility as toxic, there's nowhere to go. What do you want us to do? You want us to be more feminine? Because in order to not do all those things, that's going to make us more feminine, and then you attack us for being too soft. Make it make sense, ladies. It can't be both. And I'm genuinely looking for ladies to jump in here and explain to me why you think it can be, because you do. It's a double standard for sure. And I know I see a couple people commenting on that. It's an absolute double standard. But I want to know, ladies, where's your logic behind it? Other than just you decide to say it because it sounds good, right? And it fits your narrative and gets your ovaries all a tingle. But tell me the logic behind that, right? You don't want men to be soft. You want them to be strong and have discipline and courageous, but you don't want them to be strong, independent, and all that other stuff, right? And that's the problem. It's when you ask women that, they look at you with a glazed look. I don't know. I don't know what I'm supposed to think, right? Because feminism doesn't address it. And that's the problem. Women have groupthink mentality. They don't think individually, they think in groups. That's a trait of women. Men are more individual. That's not a knock on either or a pro on either. It's just reality, right? So they being women, can't handle that. So Rachel just said, thank you, Rachel, for saying it. She said, strong and confident, but not arrogant or cocky. What's the difference? I'm genuinely asking, because what you consider strong and confident, other people, women especially, consider arrogant or cocky, or vice versa, right? I agree with you, by the way. There is a huge difference between strong and confident and arrogant and cocky. Yet, not universally, but the overwhelming majority of women will chase the arrogant, cocky guy, the Chad, the Tyrone, the Rico, over the average, strong, confident guy. And you do it. So please don't say you don't. The facts are there. They're indisputable. You chase the top 5 to 10% of guys who are arrogant and cocky because they can be. So again, that's the reality. And again, the argument comes out, stop generalizing. I'm not generalizing. I'm just stating fact, right? And that's the point. And here comes Jacqueline. Who hurt you? Really, Jacqueline? Let me ask, and genuinely asking, by making that comment, what is your goal? Obviously, to shut me up, right? Um, you've never been hurt in your life, Jacqueline? Because I guarantee you have. No woman in the history of mankind has ever been hurt. Really? Because I can point you to about, I don't know, 5 million videos of women like yourself sitting in your car, bawling your eyes out over the most minutiae of things, right? That's the point. Her goal behind it is to shut me up because she does not believe men should have the ability to have a thought, feeling, or emotion, right? She wants to attack me by doing that. And if I'm wrong, say so, but back it up, right? So getting back to the masculinity versus toxic masculinity, there are bad men in the world. They make up about 0.5%. That's a fact, right? There are bad men in every country. There is no exception to that. They're 0.5%. Guess what? Same applies to women. It's about 0.5% of women. Yet, you live in fear of men, but don't live in fear of women. And who hurts women more than anyone else? Other women. And you know you all attack each other. Please, child, please don't try and tell me that you don't, because y'all do. Because I hear it all the time, okay? It's Chad Wesley just said, dude, thank you. I needed that laugh right now. He said, women are chasing me down. Hate to break it to you. Well played, sir. Well played. You get a clap for that one. I don't have it up on the screen. I have my soundboard, but I don't have it up. That was good. Thank you. And I just totally lost my train of thought. I was talking about, bad men and bad women. When we were talking about earlier, generalizing. Well, women have generalized that all men are, killers and arists and essayers and all that. But you won't apply the exact same standard to women, right? Which again goes back to, you claim it's a, because there's so many bad men, it's a crisis of masculinity. No, it's a misconception of women, right? And a misconception that's created by feminism to create fear in women so feminists can control them. Talk about it all the time. Feminism is a cult, is an absolute cult. Go look up the definitions of a cult, and you will see that feminism literally hits every single definition of it, without exception. And I've done a video on it. It's on my YouTube under my Falsehoods of Feminism series. It's in there. You can go look at it. And I did the research on it. It is a cult. It acts like a cult. It works like a cult. And you see the results of it, right? So that's the problem. Because the cults need to create a boogeyman, right? The thing that they can point to, or the person, or people in this case, that they can say, this is a bad thing, we're going to protect you from it, right? That's what a cult does. And the only way you're going to be safe is if you become part of the cult and follow our leadership. Tell me that's not feminism, because it's exactly what's going on for 60 years now, right? They don't want women thinking for themselves. They attack viciously any woman who thinks for herself. If Lindsay were on, she'd share. She's had death threats. She's had her children threatened. She's been told she should be RSA'd. The list goes on. Other names, I haven't seen her on, but Sarah Eaton's another one. All the women out there that speak on behalf of men, the list is endless. I don't want to start naming them because I'd miss a bunch of them, right? They all get threats from women, not men, women, right? So that's the point behind it, right? So anyway, yeah, country, I am live today, but it's just little old me. Lindsay's off on vacation. Steve just said they should read Rachel's book. There's a bunch of books that they should read. I could go. Maybe we should do a show on that. That's not a bad idea, Steve. You might just jog me for something. Because I have a bunch. If you go to my website, menneedtobeheard.com, I have a list of readings that I recommend, which I need to update, that'll really educate you. And these are not opinion pieces. Like I put a lot of Warren Farrell stuff up there, a few others, right? that are factual, research, data backed, all of that. And if you actually read them, it would change a lot of people's mind, but they don't read them. All right. So, wow, this is flying by. Where's Lindsay when I need her so I can get another drink? Hold on. And guys, I will get to the comments in just a few minutes. And I know I'm missing tons of them. I'm glancing here and there. So I have two different screens up. That's why you see me looking around. All right, let me get to something else that I think is going to be more germane to a lot of people watching. This guy is proof men aren't lonely enough. Really? Really, St. Louis or STL ginger beard man? Well, I'm going to burst your little bubble, darling, because I'm not lonely. Unlike you, I'm in a happy, healthy relationship with a woman, right? I'm not lonely. But the fact that you get off on thinking that men being lonely is a good thing, sweetie, it says more about you than it does me, doesn't it? If that's what you need to find any kind of joy in your life is to tell men they should be lonely, I'm just saying. Just going to leave it at that. Other than that, I'm not going to bother with you because you're a waste of my time. All right, let me get into the big dynamic I think a lot of people would be interested in as far as the context we're talking about, which is dating and relationship dynamics. And I kind of touched on it earlier, right? What do women say? You see it all the time on social media, right? And a couple have even mentioned it in the comments. They want the guy to be confident, but not intimidating. Well, what's the difference? Give me a hard way of knowing that for a man, because I hate to tell you, if you asked 100 different women, you're going to get 100 different answers. That's a fact. There is no black and white on that. It's a spectrum, and the spectrum is all over the place. So to say that to a man is ridiculous, right? Another one, be successful, too successful, whatever the hell that means, because that was a phrase that was thrown at me not too long ago, right? I want a man that's successful, but I don't want him to be too successful. Now, I pushed on that. And what they meant was, they didn't quite say it the right way, but I get it in context now. They didn't want him out working 90 hours a week, right? That's a fair point. I don't disagree. That's not a relationship, right? I've worked 90, 100-hour weeks. When I owned my gyms and started them out, I was working 100 hours a week. The good news is my wife was working with me, so we didn't have a problem with our relationship. But, oh, Carrie LaMastris, he doesn't like being questioned because how dare anyone do that? Oh, sweetie, I have no problem with people questioning me. What I have a problem with is people making inane insults like a 3-year-old child on the playground, which is what you're doing by your little comment. Enough said on that. It's hilarious, isn't it? For all their emotional maturity, they act like 3-year-olds on a playground nonstop. They don't argue facts, right? She hasn't once, any of them have not hit me with a fact countering anything I've said. They hurl insults and innuendo. That's all they got, which just proves they don't know what they're talking about. They have nothing to talk about. They're just going to spew the feminist narrative that's been drummed into them by the cult. Getting back, see, they make it too easy for me. They really do. So, going back to the dating relationships, they want men to be confident, but not intimidating, successful, but not too successful, right? They want him to lead, but not be controlling. Well, what does that mean? You want us to decide where to go to dinner on Friday night, but if we pick the wrong thing, then we're controlling and forced you to go somewhere you didn't want to go. Oh, yeah. You're Magic picks. Guy here, the male loneliness epidemic is deserved. What male loneliness epidemic? There isn't one. There is no such thing. It's a fiction. It was created off a magazine article. It was an opinion piece of a guy who did a little bit of research on Tinder or one of them. There is, in fact, no male loneliness epidemic. It's a male liberation epidemic. If you're lonely, that's more about you. It's not men in general. Just say, prove to me that men are lonely. You can't, right? Oh, Michelle, you haven't given any facts either. Actually, go read my Falsehoods of Feminism series, right? I give you a whole bunch of facts, but you never counter on that. Like, you got to love these arguments. It's pure opinion, yet there's literally hundreds of men giving you the same opinion. So what you're saying with your comment is, men don't know what they're talking about. I know better than they do what men think and feel. Sarcasm fully intended, darling. Right? Oh, here we go. This man is so sad. Sweetie, all you got is insults. Get off the playground. You're not 3 years old. Well, you probably are, but grow up. It's funny as hell. The simps are out too. The ladies are out too, and they're spewing their hate, their toxicity. You gotta love it. You gotta love it, right? Men are alone, not lonely. There's a difference, a significant one. Yes, sir. You're right. Yeah, I'll get to some of the comments, but let me finish my thought on the dating and dynamics, right? They have all these expectations of men, which, by the way, is stuck in the 1950s. Men should pay for the first date. They should make all the plans. They should put in all the effort. Men need to do. We have to put makeup on. Ooh, men didn't ask you to put it on. You decided to put it on. Why should we have to pay for it? Right? We don't owe you a goddamn thing, ladies. Nothing. And you don't deserve it because of comments like these. When you sit there and tell men they're sad the minute they share an opinion you don't like, you're proving that I'm not the problem. You are. Why would any man want to be with you? Any man would be crazy to be with you, right? It's hilarious. The good doctor just said, you haven't dated since 1976. What could you possibly know about modern dating? I don't know if that one's directed at me, but I know a lot because I do something most people don't do. I actually listen and talk to men. God forbid somebody do that, right? Michelle, I thought these were facts, not opinions. I've given a bunch of facts. You just are ignoring them. You're hearing what you want to hear so you can attack me to try and shut me down. Classic female move. I could give you 100 facts. Let's be honest, honey. You'd ignore every single one of them. Like the fact that you're just spewing hate at me. You hate men. I get it. You hate me. Fine. I don't care. Bro, do you see yourself? This is so cringy. Again, notice what's going on. Notice there's this red pill sadness. I am loving these comments. And so, guys, notice what they're doing, right? Notice what they're doing. They cannot argue the facts. They have no truth to stand on. So they resort to ad hominem attacks. Just waiting for one of them to point out I'm bald. It's coming. It's without. Yeah, they're attacking. You're right. They are attacking me because if Lindsay were here, they would attack her also. Absolutely, they would. It's hilarious. They think I'm mad. I'm actually laughing my ass off internally. Actually, I can laugh out loud right now because it's pathetic. It is sad and pathetic what they do because it's all they have. They don't have the truth. They don't have facts. They've never listened to a man in their life because the minute a man speaks and says something they don't agree with or don't like, they attack him personally because that's all they got. But if you attack them personally and looking at some of their images, there's a lot to attack. Just saying, right? It is who they are. It is who they are. Here we go. What is this thumb saying about masculinity? Oh, J. Phil, if that's what you've got to come at me with, if that's the best you've got, buddy, have a seat. Sit in the back because you got nothing, dude. I love it. I love it. This is what simps and women do. You're seeing it. They cannot stand an honest conversation about a men's issue, right? They can't handle it. They don't want to allow it. So they resort to these nonstop ad hominem attacks. He's a thumb. Oh, dude, I just looked at your picture. Pretty pathetic. Just saying. This is my first introduction into red pill. What is red pill, sweetie? Red pill is anything you don't like. So just because you don't like it means it's bad, right? Basically, from what I can see from you, you're blue pilled. Okay. That makes you a bad person in my eyes and probably most of the people watching. You willing to admit that? You willing to admit there's something wrong with you? Of course not. So yeah, I guess I've kind of really gone off track. Do I know that I am in fact bald? No. Really? It's an utter shock to me. You know, I have to say, why aren't these razor companies supporting me? Quick side trip. So when you're get a decent enough size following, which I'm not huge, but I have a decent enough following, you get companies that reach out to you looking for you to sponsor, right? Or do commercials for them. You know who I hear from? This is not a lie. Sephora. What's the handbag company? One of the handbag companies, the purse companies. What's Blue Pill? Anyone who hates men. So you. Companies like that, they want me to pitch that stuff. My audience is men. Where's the ones that, razors? Because I shave my head every day. Not that I'm looking for sponsorships, but that would be a natural fit for me because I actually do it, right? Or I don't know. How about body cams? Because anyone who doesn't wear a body cam that's a male is a fool these days. Because you have people like all the women in these comments throwing out their ad hominem false allegations against me, proving that every woman makes false allegations because they're actually making them. Just go read the comments on TikTok in particular. Yeah, I know, country. I'm bald. I know. Who'd have thunk? Jeez. There never was supposed to be a blue pill. There was only a red pill. Yeah, it's funny how it only goes one way, right? Let me just move this one off my screen because I have my sheet so I can see a little bit more. We'll go to the comments because I'm just having too much fun, This dude's delusional. Why is that, Scott? Because I'm not a little simp boy? Because I speak like most men do? Okay. When your wife lets you have your balls back, let me know. They've put, so here's what happened, guys, right? Is the feminists have gotten all upset. So they jumped on their Discord server and told them to come attack me. That's what's going on. And that's how they operate. They want to shut it down. It's just a matter of time before this show gets taken down on TikTok because they're all mass reporting it right now. Guaranteed. Based off visual and auditory evidence, you don't like women. Yet I'm happily married to one and have two best friends are female. I'm surrounded by women and they all love me. So based on the actual evidence, not your perception, you're wrong. And I actually like women, but you clearly hate men. So there. Vanessa said, haven't seen you in my FYP in ages, missed your content. Well, the problem is, Vanessa, all the ladies that are on here report me nonstop, and I am in shadow ban hell on TikTok. My advice, follow me on YouTube, follow me on Insta, follow me on any of the other ones, because my content does get seen there. It's, I can't control TikTok. I don't give two shits about TikTok anymore. So Wits Radio said, hey, what's your thoughts on HR 7602, the Men's Health Act in Congress? I have problems with it. Let me just say that. I'm not going to go into it right now because I'm going to be doing a whole video on it in the very near future. And maybe we'll do that as a show discussion because it is a legitimate question. I'm not trying to dodge your question. There's some good to it. There's some bad to it, as is usually the case, right? So I'm just going to leave it at that. Stay tuned. I will definitely be putting a video out on it. Oh, yeah, I forgot Facebook. Yeah, I'm on Flakebook too. Flakebook, by the way, is Insta seems to be throttling me a little bit, just a smidge, but Facebook is not. Go figure, it's the same company. But yeah, you can follow me on Facebook. But again, guys, a lot of the content that I post on YouTube does not get posted to Facebook or TikTok because I can't. Because I will get zucked on Facebook and I'll get talked on TikTok, okay? I can't control it. So if you're not following me on YouTube, both channels, because I have two, you're missing out on a ton of content. If you enjoy it. If you hate me, oh well, I don't really care. I'm watching a dude raise his own blood pressure over his own fabricated anger. Nice piece of fiction you got there. Did that one come from the Ambien you take or the SSRIs? Because that's all something you've created. False allegation, by the way. So it proves you just spew out false allegations against men, but hey, whatever makes you happy. What's your perception of me? I have a husband and 2 sons. Yeah, I talk to husbands and 2 sons of people like you. They're not happy. They tell me what they really think. Just saying. Just because you have them doesn't mean they're glad to have you. Just saying. See, I can play this game too. I can get down in the mud with you, and you'll lose your minds when I do. It's just funny. He used to have a big fro. Wait a minute. Hold on. You talking about me? Oh, so I had to scroll back a bit. I used to be in bands, yes. Not a rock star, not by a long shot. But I did have big 80s hair. It was permed, it was red, and it was down 3/4 of my back. Think Robert Plant with long hair, like real long hair. And one day I shaved it all off. I actually went to a crew cut. At that point, there are no pictures, sadly, because if they were, I'd be posting them. But my ex-wife burned them all, I found out. There's literally no pictures of me anywhere from about 1980 to about 1995. There's a few here and there, but she had them all, and she took them when she left me. And unfortunately, that she destroyed them. So, because I would love to share them, and I had some really, pictures of me on stage and all that. You guys would laugh your asses off. I would laugh. Think 80s, poofed up, aquanetted hair. Yeah, that was me. All right, let me get back to some other ones because I went right off track. But we're still staying on track with toxicity towards men because we're seeing it in full form. If you want to see a perfect example of what I was talking about at the beginning of the show, of the toxicity directed at men, look at the comments on TikTok right now. That is exactly, that's all the proof you need. Look at how these women and some of the simp men are responding because they cannot allow men to have a conversation. They cannot allow men to have a thought, feeling, or emotion. They will immediately go on the attack when a man does. They will immediately start making shit up about him in order to justify hating him. They will immediately do anything and everything they can in their mind to say he's wrong so I can attack him. And you're seeing it in the comments. They're proving me right. And they're so stupid, they don't even know it. That's the funny part about it. And that's why I'm not in the least bit angry. I'm laughing my ass off at them because it's making it so obvious and supporting everything I said. So thank you for that. Well done. Anyway, let me just jump back for some other comments. I'm going to jump over to the YouTube side for a little bit because TikTok's just become a shit show. What else is new? Mr. Brass asked me, so we'll go open now if you want to ask me questions. Have you ever thought of running for office? Yes, I have, and I've been asked multiple times for local offices, school boards, city council, county seat. I've turned them all down. Why? Because I'm too honest. I'm too blunt. I would tell it like it is. If I were like, there's a pretty good school board race going on where I am locally. And there's a lot of shit going on behind the scenes because I'm looped in pretty well on politics locally and statewide in North Carolina. I'd be calling both parties out. I would run as an independent, although I was asked to run, and I'll be upfront. It was the Republican Party that asked me to run. Why, I don't know, because I attacked them all the time. I'm a hypocrite. Okay, sweetie. Sure. I won't run. I've thought long and hard about it. If I were going to run, I probably would run for school board, to be honest with you, because one of the things I briefly touched on as a problem, but it's a big issue with me, is boys falling behind in education, which is a shit show. It is without question that the educational system has dropped the ball completely. Not only have they dropped the ball, they don't care that boys are struggling across every spectrum and dynamic in the Western world primarily, but some cases the Eastern. Um, and there's nothing being done about it. There's no talk about it. When you try and talk about it, you get attacked, just like all the people are doing on TikTok, right? But the fact is that boys have lower grades, less graduation rates. They're more likely to be suspended. And it's all because of the way education has been set up to hate boys, right? It's the whole toxicity argument. Boys are inherently toxic because they have XY chromosomes and a penis. So we must destroy them. And that's what's happening. So I would run for school board because of that. And to be honest with you, I am making some inquiries behind the scenes of the people running for school board, asking them the specific question. It's very detailed, but just to sum it up, what are you doing to address the fact that boys are lagging behind in the school district in question? And what are your plans to address it, since there's been no discussion? Now, I have a letter that's going out to all of them, and I will be sharing that down the road. So if you want to do it, you're more than willing to steal it and use it yourself. But once I do that, then I will share with you the results. But I already know the answer is going to be either they'll not reply, which is the most common thing, or they'll spew pablum at me. Well, we'll look into it. I'll have my people get back to your people, which is political speak for we're not going to do a damn thing about it. So to answer your question, Mr. Brass, yes, I have thought about it. It would take a lot for me to do it at this point, because again, it would be very tough for me to get elected because I speak the truth. And as you can see, if you're on TikTok, people don't like hearing the truth. They can't handle it, which is why they act like 2-year-olds. Anyway, ask me other questions if you want. Let me, some of these I can't reply. I would love to say comment on them, but you guys are bad. Angel said, I wish I could see a picture of you with it. I have looked everywhere. My kids have looked. I reached out last fall to my daughters, basically asked for the same thing. Do you have any photos of me that maybe you got from your mom or something like that? She has nothing. They've all been destroyed. Apparently my ex admitted it to my daughter, so it is what it is. So anyway, on that one, guys, so boys falling behind school is their own fault. Really? How's it their own fault? Is it because they're told literally from the day they enter school that there's something wrong with them? Is it because teachers, and this is a proven fact, tend to grade boys lower even for the exact same work, the same quality of work? Or is it just because you hate boys and, oh, that's not what happens? Really? Yeah. Again, you can't argue with ignorance. My grandpappy used to say that one. You cannot argue with ignorance. They're so far gone, you can't reason with them. And that's why they are who they are. It's why there's no point in even discussing it with them. So let them have their little spew and have their little fun, because it makes their life better, which is, pretty sad when you think about it. Anyway. Densa just said, we respect you and love you for who you are. Thank you. I appreciate that. Oh, this is a good one. So Scam Likely, nice name. The moment men realize they're the commodity, the builders, defenders, innovators, the ones who have continuity of our species on their backs for millennia, you'll see women in a new light. I agree with you. But that'll never happen. Society will never acknowledge what men do, I love this one. My sister is a teacher, has 2 boys, both graduated with honors. That's one case. The data shows completely different. The data from millions of boys. But see, that doesn't fit your narrative, doesn't fit your hate. So you're only going to go with that. Notice how everything I say is bullshit. They never counter it. They just spew their pablum. I just laugh. It's pathetic. It's sad and it's pathetic. Anyway, I could get sponsorships for Mr. Clean. Not a bad idea. Wait a minute, that's Procter & Gamble, isn't it? Yeah, and there's no way I'm shilling their product. They hate men. Another one, I'm going to go out on a limb. Watch all the commercials for scented items, and you'll see how racist Procter & Gamble is. Because the people in every single one of those commercials are non-Caucasian. Just saying. What's the message, Procter and Gamble? I happened to notice that the other day, like literally every commercial. All right. Oh, logical. It'd be great if our taxes went so there's something good. Amanda replied back to it. Yeah, like I don't know, maybe helping boys, helping men. How about some shelters for male victims of domestic violence, which make up 50% of the violent victims? But see, Amanda, you probably don't support that, do you? No. There's only 2 shelters for men, over 2,000 for women. Our tax dollars support the shelters for women. They get no money for the men. Maybe we should apply some of our tax dollars to help the men. What is your source? My source is all the research that I've done. If you don't like what I'm saying, go do your own. Go watch my videos. I've done detailed videos with all of the research. They're in my Falsehoods of Feminism series on YouTube. But you won't go watch them. You know it, and I know it, because it would prove you wrong. I'm loving this. I am having the time of my life right now. I actually, now they're going to attack me. You actually care about racism. Yeah, but apparently you don't. Just saying, because if you're going to make a comment like that, it makes you a racist. Just saying. You got to love these things. Where do I find all this data? Easy. I read. I go look at the studies. I go to the Department of Justice website. There is 100 places you can go find it. The difference is I do it, they don't, and they scream at me to give them the source. And as I've done 100 times before, I will point them to the exact source. And one of 2 things will happen. They won't go look at it, which is 90% of the time. And the few that do will say, that one doesn't count. So when I point out, for example, and I forget the exact year, but I'm going to say 22 or 23, when you look at the domestic violence killings, there's about 1,700 women that were killed by men. Horrible tragedy. It's about 1,300 the other way. That's right. 1,300 men were killed by women. And then when you factor in on top of that, that women are less likely to be charged with murder in those cases, right? Far less likely. They're likely to, if they are charged, they're downcharged to manslaughter or something like that. So the stats are completely skewed to begin with. But when you actually look at it and do the research, which shocking I did, you'll find that this narrative that it's husbands killing wives is not the truth, right? It's just all they have. Oh my God, I'm just laughing my ass off at these pathetic comments. You should bring Johnny Depp on your show. Actually, I reached out to him when the trial was going on, his people. They didn't even reply to me. Shocking. I'm a nobody to them, right? You are all opinions. Seriously, I am leaving. You sound like just an angry man. Bye. Let me guess, you're going to unsubscribe too. Oh, no. It's hilarious how they think it's going to make me mad that they're doing this. Who's the worst girl you've made a video on? Ooh. I don't remember her name. I can picture her face. She was the one a couple of years back that made the video. She got lost her job and everything about when it was Men's Mental Health Month, mocking it. She was probably the worst one I've done a video on. And I was so nice, right? But truth is, contrary to what they all want to believe, I don't think really bad of all of them. I think they're all misguided for the most part. There are evil, absolutely, like some of the people. Oh, I'm in the Epstein files. Hold on, fake car keys. Let me make sure I have your information, because now that you've made that allegation, I can send you a letter. You'll be hearing from my attorneys, bud. Thank you. If you're going to claim I'm in the Epstein files, you better be able to prove it. Otherwise, we'll start with 6 figures. How about 100,000 for besmirching me in public? Oh, and don't think I won't do it. See, that's even the dogs are laughing at that one. And by the way, I haven't talked about it publicly. I will be, not right away, but down the road. I have actually filed against some people for making claims like that. Not that one, but similar ones. Yeah, it's going to be fun because I have the wherewithal and the means to pursue them legally. So it'll be fun. So keep making those insults because I save them all. Um, he's never involved behind a junior high mentality. It's funny how Honey Baked Hammy has never said anything other than an insult. You notice that? She has no argument. None. All she does. Oh, and she was banned. I just looked up her thing. She's got a whopping 903 followers. Ooh. Not surprised you're banned, honey, because all you do is spew hate. It's fine. You can hate me if it makes your life better, by all means, because it doesn't bother me. In fact, it makes me laugh. It's pathetic. Yeah, this is not an airport. You don't need to announce your departure, people. Angel said, what time we got? I only got 4 minutes. If you want a perfect example of media portraying masculinity and men as toxic, look no further than Married with Children. I've actually done videos on Married with Children, both pro and con men, by the way. There are some good there. It's hard to find, but it's there. So yeah, good point though. It would be nice if the educational system would reinvigorate SHOP and FFA. I completely agree. That's something I'm wholeheartedly in support of. And also to push HEAL for boys, health, education, literacy, and administration. They just did a big thing locally about helping girls in STEM, to which part of my letter goes out to go, where's the one for boys in HEAL? Why is it only a program to help girls get into STEM? Where's the help for boys? It's actually against the law what they did. But yeah. Anyway, so I only got a couple more minutes. I'm just scanning quick. Some of these comments, guys, you make me laugh. The TikTokers are they've lost their minds. It's sad, pathetic, but it's TikTok. Make the trolls comprehend that defamation of character and libel is actually a crime. Some of them are going to find out. Because you see, they took my videos, presented what I said, and put it up and made allegations against me of being a P3DO. 3 of them did it. All 3 of them have been found. All 3 of them have gotten cease and desists. All 3 of them will be multiple 6 figures if they don't retract and make a video. I am going to take a stand with them because I take that very serious. So, keep spewing your hate, people. You just make me richer than I already am. Do you think you would be in a successful marriage if you were born in a few decades later? I am in a successful marriage. So, yes. I know it breaks all the girls' hearts to know that I actually have a wife who loves me and I love dearly. We have a very happy, healthy relationship, unlike most of them who are miserable, which is why they spend their days online spewing hate at men. It's hilarious. Anyway, so I only got about a minute left. This has been a blast for me. I do miss Lindsay. If I were meant in the social media, I got you, Mustafa. Just real quick, just to kind of answer them. Would I be married? If I were single right now, I would not date. No, the risk from women is too great, right? When you realize that false allegations are being made by the millions against men every single day, witness all the comments in here with the allegations that they've made, up to and including me calling me a P3DO. Yes, even Zoe, the little puppy, is upset. Yeah, you can't risk it these days. So no, I would not be married because I wouldn't be dating. The puppies want to come up. All right, so I'm going to wrap things up. Are all these on the T app? Yes. And I guarantee you, none of them are 5'10" supermodels either. Anyway, so we're here weekly, every Wednesday from 4 to 5:30. Normally, I am joined by my digital daughter, Lindsay. I know, a woman who actually likes me. Who'd have thunk? And guess what? She knows I'm bald, too. Ooh. We'll be back next week. Lindsay's off enjoying time with her family. She said she could jump on. I said, no, you're not. I got it. And so every Wednesday we're on from 4 to 5:30. If you're watching my channels on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, you're looking at my channels. If you're on the Boy Meets Squirrel channels, make sure you follow. but only if you like me. If you're one of the haters, well, you can follow me because it just helps the algorithm. But my talking about supermodels is killing you? Well, I'm married to one, so what the heck? It's something we enjoy doing, both Lindsay and I. Just to kind of wrap things up with my channels. As I said at the very beginning of the show, I have 2 channels primarily on YouTube. That is my main focus, is YouTube, because TikTok is a shit show, as we can tell. I put content out every single day on both channels. Men Need to Be Heard is my main channel, both on TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, although I don't really pay attention to Rumble. What am I forgetting? Insta and all them. That's where I talk about the issues that men and boys face, the double standards, the hate, as all the ladies and the simps prove today. That's what I talk about there. Then there's Men Need to Be Heard 2, TOO. That's on YouTube and TikTok, although I do put some of the videos on Facebook, Insta, and the other places. That channel is dedicated towards helping men on an individual basis to improve their lives. Majority of the content is actually given to me by my followers. So they'll send me emails, questions, topics, and all that, and I play off of that. So every day I have, I call it my thought for the day, where I will talk about an issue that a man or men are facing, right? And how they can overcome it, how they can get around it, whatever it might be. Every Sunday I do what's called the Sunday sermon on Men Need to Be Heard too, where I go in detail on a particular issue that a man has sent to me that he's facing. Sometimes I share, if they give me permission, I will share their actual email or DM or whatever. Sometimes I don't, because they ask me not to, but they give me permission to talk about it. So those videos are directly from other men asking about. So Ginger just said, you follow a man who has admitted essaying women in multiple interviews. Really, Ginger? You better be willing to back that one up, buddy, because I just print screened you. And if you're claiming that with no proof, your 11.4 thousand followers aren't going to give you enough money. So you can either retract it immediately, or you'll be hearing from my attorneys. And on that note, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Been a great show. I love all the hate. It makes my day. All right, kids, till next time. Have an awesome day.